Petra on our second day. It was so different than our first night when we spent it with so many people at Petra at night. We went back to Petra at 6 o'clock in the morning and there was nobody around, which was something that we had hoped for but wasn't sure if we would get. So we were just so excited when we had the whole place to ourselves at the entrance, and we thought our day was going to be so relaxing and peaceful. But little did we know how it was going to unfold, so actually more on that later. So our goal for getting up that early in the morning was really to get to the monastery before everybody else does. Now the monastery is actually the furthest site away from the entrance of Petra. So if you look at the map, you have to walk from the entrance through the Seek to get to the treasury, which already takes about like 30 minutes to an hour. And then at the treasury, you have to keep going for at least like 30 minutes before you get to the base of the monastery, which is where you start the 822 steps up to the top. So we started our walk in the morning. We passed by a lot of Bedouins with their horses, and they asked us if we wanted to have a ride into Petra. We declined because we wanted again to go at our own pace and relax, but they persuaded us, saying that it would be pretty cool to ride the horses through the Seek. So we got on, and as soon as we got on, we knew it was a mistake.
Yeah, high place. Yeah, you go by horses. You see from all of Petra, by horses. No carriage, no donkey, no anything. You go by horse. It's better for you. Let's go walking.
How much?
After I say for you.
I get it. So we just totally got scammed coming into Jordan or Petra.
We didn't get scammed.
Yeah, we did. We tried to get a carriage ride in, and they sold us a horse. And they were like, fine, because they were going to take us on a horse through the canyons, and it was pretty cool. And then halfway through, they started selling us another tour through the back of Petra, which we don't know anything about. It could be cool, but... So then, right after we didn't want to go, they just let us off. So we didn't even make it into the canyon with the horse. Oh, anyways, now we're walking.
But at least...
So, despite that slight hiccup in the morning, once we got on the ground and started walking ourselves through the Seek, the peacefulness and the scenery and the narrow canyons just took our breath away, and we forgot about everything that happened in the morning. It's just so interesting to see the contrast of this place with nobody around except you versus the night before when everybody was rushing into Petra at night. So after walking through the Seek, we got to the treasury. It just opens up for you. It's such a grand way to enter. This whole facade, like the stone carvings and this huge structure, just appears in front of you. So we spent a little bit of time there just walking around. There's a trail that takes you to the top where you can get a better view, but we didn't do that because we wanted to head to the monastery. So continuing on after the treasury, this part was really what kind of shocked me, because I had no idea how big the whole area of the city of Petra was. I thought the Seek and the treasury was it. I didn't know there were so many more stone carved facades in the back than you can count. Some of them were decorated, some of them were not decorated. We learned that the decorated ones are actually tombs for people, and the undecorated ones was where people lived. So it's kind of interesting. They don't get to live in the nice ones. So as we walked, we saw an amphitheater, and we saw so many Roman ruins that it was just, the scale of it just totally amazed us. So actually, let me back up a little bit. I talked about the Bedouins who persuaded us to go on their horses earlier in the day. They are actually nomadic Arabs who live in Petra. They've been living in the caves and tombs of Petra for hundreds of years. And so when Petra became a World UNESCO site, instead of continuing to live in there, they have now become more the local guides, and they add local flavor to the ancient city of Petra for visitors. So they're like entertainers, they make crafts, then they also have camels and donkeys that they let people ride. And it's really easy to spot them inside Petra. You can't miss them because most of them look like Jack Sparrow. They all wear this black eyeliner and it's supposed to protect their eyes from the sun. It acts kind of like sunglasses in that it blocks out the reflection. So I wanted to explain who the Bedouins are because as we continue our walk past the treasury, every 5 minutes or so, a Bedouin would come up to us and ask us if we wanted to ride their donkeys. And we're like, no. Like we tried as politely as we could to decline until we got almost to the base of the monastery and these two little kids came up to us with their donkeys and their donkey had a baby donkey and they asked us if we would please take their donkeys up to the top. So we gave in and it was like we forgot what happened in the morning and we got on their donkeys. And you can probably tell that was a mistake. The donkey was a little bit scary, so we got off of it. We're about halfway up and I'm glad I didn't take the donkey because there's some parts that I just don't know if I would want to be on a donkey. It's getting pretty warm. Pretty nice day. So we got off the donkeys and we walked all 822 steps by ourselves up to the monastery. The walk is strenuous, but I think if you're determined to do it, it's not that difficult, especially on a sunny day when it's not wet. The views up at the top of the monastery is certainly worth the 822 steps up. When we got there, it was still early morning, so there were not a lot of people, and we got to really feel how small we are compared to the ginormous monastery structure. I think it's even bigger than the treasury. So up there, and actually also along the way, there are cafes and refreshments that you can pick up, so if you don't have your bottled water, it's okay. So at the very top, we hung out at the cafe because we were so exhausted at this point. We had done Petra last night, we got up early this morning without eating breakfast and went straight into Petra and hiked for like 3 hours. So we hung out at the cafe, they had ramens, which was the perfect breakfast for us, and we had this beautiful view of the monastery while enjoying our ramen. So as we were hanging out at the cafe owner, I think probably saw that we looked pretty tired, so he asked us if we wanted to ride donkeys down. We were like, no, we're not gonna ride donkeys down, but we were kind of curious how much he was gonna charge, so we asked him. In hindsight, we shouldn't have done that because he didn't quite understand English, so I think by asking him how much it was, he mistook it as we wanted to ride a donkeys down. So when we were ready to leave, we just started walking out and he was like, wait, your donkeys are right here. We're like, what donkeys? He had 2 donkeys brought up from the base because he thought we wanted to ride donkeys. And so we couldn't really refuse at that point since he had them brought up from the base. So we rode them down, and if I thought riding donkeys up was scary and that's why we got off, riding donkeys down stone carved steps, it's a whole different story.
So, this isn't how I thought today was gonna go. Oh shit. Oh shit. Oh shit. Oh shit. Okay. Okay. Oh shit. Oh shit. I'm sorry. Oh shit. Oh shit. Oh shit.
So we made some stupid mistakes coming to Petra. One thing we would tell you is just walk. We don't know if these donkeys and horses are being treated fairly, so we felt really bad after riding them. We did want to contribute to the Bedouins because we know they're not very wealthy. Overall, the entire country of Jordan is not very wealthy because they don't have any oil, so they depend on tourism. But yeah, if we have any advice, I think, you know, just walk if you're capable. And don't get talked into riding donkeys like us. So we walked back out the rest of the way on our own. Nobody asked us if we wanted to ride donkeys. And it was such a different experience walking back out because by the time we got out around noon, everybody was in Petra. I think all the day trips were here. Everybody came in at around like 11 o'clock. The whole place was packed like Disney World. So your Petra experience, I think, would depend a lot on what time you go. If you don't mind the crowds, definitely go later, and it's probably just more like at ease. You won't explore the whole area, you probably just see the main area. But if you really want to do the exploring, you want to feel like you're out there by yourself, like as early as possible. So that's our Petra experience in a nutshell. After Petra, we headed out to Wadi Rum, which is the exotic red sand deserts of Jordan. A lot of movies have filmed there, like The Martian, Aladdin, Star Wars, but apparently it's not very well known. We stayed 2 nights out there in a tent and camped under the stars, and it was amazing. It was just such a unique experience. So that video is coming in a few days. Please subscribe so you'll get notified when that video gets uploaded. Thanks so much for watching. You're so happy. Yuki, come here. Ah.